Hello and welcome to the presentation on Federalism, Chapter 2, Political Science, Class 10. The term federalism and also confederalism, they have their root from the Latin word fodus, which means a treaty, an agreement, a pact, or a covenant. Their common early meaning until the late 18th century was a simple league, a group, a governmental relationship among a supreme independent state based on an agreement or a treaty. Federalism is a system of government in which the same territory is controlled by two or more levels of government. Generally, an overarching national government is responsible for broader governance. When we say overruling, when the center is more powerful than the state, while there is also a territorial division and we have subdivisions called as states, also union territories. Federalism in India is practiced by the creation of linguistic states and also language policy. We will discuss also about the center state relations and the formation of the linguistic states in 1947. The boundary drawn between India and Pakistan, the Radcliffe Line, and the division of Indian territory into different states based on language. The national government is more powerful. That power is distributed to different states. This is a federation, an agreement to distribute the power. What is federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between the central authority and various constituent units of the country. Federalism has two levels of government. One is the government for the entire country, that is the union government or the central government. It is usually responsible for new subject of common interest for the national interest or the entire country. The others are the governments at the levels of the provinces or administrative areas or the states that look after much of the day to day administration of their states. Federations are contrasted with unitary governments. Unitary government is one which has one single entity where there is no division of power. Whereas in a federation, the power is divided because one single national government cannot go to the lowest levels and resolve the problems of all the people. In a government, there are subunits and also they are called as subordinates to the central government. They are answerable to the central government. In a federation, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. In a federal government, the central government has granted freedom to the state government. The state governments have authority to frame laws on different subjects. This is a map, world map, which shows the federal countries or states in a green color. A state is a geographical boundary which has population, which has government, which has people. That can be a larger area or a smaller area. Federal states. This map shows this map shows the different countries of the world which are monarchies as well as commonwealth countries. The first map shows the 16 countries of the British Commonwealth that recognized the monarch as the head of the state. The larger Commonwealth consists of over 50 countries and the 29 other countries with monarchs. The second map is a simplified version of the first one. It provides the countries' names, but smaller principalities were left off in the map. So, the 16 Commonwealth countries with a monarch are the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, Antigua, and Barbuda, and so on. How many countries are in the Commonwealth? About the Commonwealth is a voluntary organization of 54 independent countries, almost all of which were formerly under the British rule. The British has captured them, colonized them once upon a time. What are the key features of federalism? That map was just an attempt to show that how many countries are monarchies, how many countries are now federations or democracies. We can see that 95% of the world has transformed into democracy. Let us go back and see. You can look at the map. So, what are those features which are making the world transform into democracy, and how is this division of power between the center and the state helpful? The key features of the federation or the federalism are there are two or more levels or tiers of government. Different tiers of the government govern the same citizens. They all belong to India, say for example. But each tier has its own jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is limitation of authority, limitation of power. The limit is specified, the authority is specified, the power is specified. What is the jurisdiction of that particular region? What is the jurisdiction of Telangana region? What is the jurisdiction of Haryana? What is the jurisdiction of any other state or district or whatever? Jurisdiction in a specific matter of legislation, that is lawmaking, taxation, imposition of tax, and administration. Now all the central state taxes are removed and one common tax is imposed in the form of GST. The jurisdiction of the respective levels of or the tiers of the government are specified in the constitution. The fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of the government. So, jurisdiction of the respective levels of the tiers of the government are clearly stated. The constitution specifies, it makes the clear distinction what is the limitation of authority. Also, one single entity, neither the state nor the center, can change the level or the authority or the power of each jurisdiction. Courts have the power to interpret the constitution, understand and explain the terms and conditions of the constitution, the principles, the notions of the constitution, and the powers of the different levels of the government. The key features of federalism can be studied as: first, it has two dual objectives. Number one, first, to safeguard and promote the unity and integrity of the nation. Also, to maintain the regional accommodation. Every country has to be accommodated here. Regional diversities which are there, that has to be protected. A country with so many distinctions and people living together with oneness. Sources of revenue for each tier of the government are separate. From where they are going to get the money, it is separate. The existence and authority of each tier is guaranteed by the constitution. Constitution has given the statement. In case of any dispute amongst the state and the central authorities, the highest resolution body is the court. The fundamental changes require the consent of both levels. That's why no changes can be done unilaterally. One laterally sided. Each level has its own jurisdiction, limitation of authority. Two or more levels of government is a key feature of federalism. So, sources of the revenue for each level of the government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy or independence. The federalism thus has dual objectives: one to safeguard, promote unity, integrity of the country; on the other side, to accommodate the regional diversity. A country with so many diversities, ethnicities, languages, everybody has to be accommodated here. There are two kinds of routes through which federations are to be formed. Number one involves independent states coming together on their own and they form a bigger unit and they pool the sovereignty, that is a supreme authority, and also they retain their own identity and they can increase their security. When they are coming together, the strength becomes more. That is coming together federation. In the second route, we have larger country decides to divide its power between the constituent states and the national government. This is holding together federation. So once again, a clear cut distinction between the two. Independent states coming together on their own, no compulsion, to form bigger unit. They increase security, they pool the sovereignty and retain identity. Pool is gather, sovereignty is supreme independent power. All constituent states have equal power. Everybody is equal. USA, U for USA, S for Switzerland, A for Australia. You can remember very easily. Holding together, federation is a larger country that decides to divide its power between the constitutional units and the center and the states. Simple. Center is more powerful like the states than the states. The constituent units of the federation have unequal powers, so center is having more powerful. India, Spain and Belgium. We can remember this as SBI. S for Spain, B for Belgium, I for India. If federalism is division of power between the center and the state, how is federal government different from the unitary form of government? What or why are the federations preferred these days? We saw the map, and why are they preferring federations? Unitary government has only one level of government, whereas federal government has two or more levels of government. In a unitary government, the subunits are subordinate to the center, whereas in a federation, central government cannot encroach on the rights of the state government. They have their own rights. In unitary government, center can order the subordinate units, which cannot happen in a federation. A federation is preferred because it helps the making administration simplified, more effective, more efficient. It helps to accommodate all diverse different groups. What makes India a federal country? The constitution declares India as a union of states. The constitution originally provided for two-tier system, but the Panchayat Raj system has introduced the three-tier system. The we call the central government the representing the Union of India and the state governments who are representing different states. Later, we have the third tier of the federalism that was added in the form of panchayats and municipalities. Federation, delegated powers, reserved powers, and concurrent powers. What are they? A delegated power is a power that is given to the national government. Reserved power is specifically reserved to the states. Powers include setting up of local governments and determining the speed limit at what speed they are going to progress. Concurrent powers is a power that is given to both the states and the federal government. How is federalism practiced? Constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of the democratic policies in our country. The constitution contains three lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. These subjects are with regard to national importance, for example, foreign affairs, banking, communication, currency, etc., come under the national list. They are at most important for the entire country. Under the state list, we have subjects of state importance, local importance, like police, trade, commerce, agriculture, irrigation, etc. Under the concurrent, where both the center and the state are together making the laws, that is both, that is affecting the interest of both center and the state: education, forest, trade union, marriage, adoption, succession, and so on. This list is giving a clear cut distinction between the, amongst the union list, state list, and concurrent list. You can have a glance. Also, please give feedback after watching the video. Whatever videos you need more, you can also please comment. Coming to the language policy, a country which has diverse ethnicities, almost 1652 languages and dialects are spoken in our country. But in the beginning, there were very few languages which were legally accepted, statutory languages. Later, it was increased to 18. Then it became 21. But what is the status of Hindi? Did the constitution make Hindi as the national language? Is our constitution did not give any special status to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language because majority of the people in North India spoke. They feel comfortable in speaking, communicating, in expressing in Hindi. But any one language group of people who are more in number, they cannot impose their majoritarianism on the minority, as we saw in the case of Sri Lanka. According to the constitution, the use of English for official purpose was to stop in 1965. Non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English should continue because English was easy to understand. The South Indian states especially, they felt that the central government has to respond, and responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purposes. Promotion does not mean that the central government can impose Hindi on the states where people speak different language. People should feel comfortable to express. The State Reorganization Committee has divided the states on the basis of language, and we see the formation of the states. The first state to be formed on the linguistic basis, we find Andhra Pradesh. The creation of linguistic states was the first and major test for a democratic country. It was a big task to unify all these countries which were princely states, and those princely states were united by the Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhai Patel. Almost more than 565 princely states were united. They were joined into Indian Union. And the state to be included into Indian Union with the police action was the Nizam state, the present Telangana. In the year 1947, the boundaries of several old states of India were redrawn in order to create new states. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same state. When the demand for the formation of states on the basis of language was raised, some national leaders they feared that if the nation is going to be divided on the basis of language this way, that will lead to disintegration. But India set itself as an example to the nations of the world. In spite of getting divided on the basis of language, we still have unity and we have integrity. Unity in diversity. We salute the same national flag, we sing the same national anthem. The center state relationship. Though the center is a larger entity and the states are smaller entities, we have the legislative relations, administrative relations, financial relations. In all these relations, both the center states are connected with one another. The restructuring of the center state relation is one more way in which the federation has been strengthened in practice. In 1990 there was a rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. This was also the beginning of the era of the coalition government at the center. Till then, one single party which was getting the majority that used to rule the country. But when one single party is not able to get majority, two or more parties combine together, they collide, they join, they align, and they form coalition. Such coalitions in our country, we see one led by Congress, which is called as UPA, United Progressive Alliance. And with the leadership of BJP, we have NDA, National Democratic Alliance. Since no single party got a clear cut majority in the Lok Sabha, the major national parties they had led to enter into an alliance or joining with many smaller parties. This led to the culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of the state government. There can be a different government at the center and different government at the state. Still there is no bias, no influence of the central government on the state, and both are making laws. Here we see the map showing different states formation on the basis of language. We have here pie chart showing different states, different languages and their percentages, number of people speaking them. Here we can see that Hindi is still the largest spoken language in our country. The formation of states based on the state reorganization committee, restructuring committee, we can say. The center state relations are very, very important with regard to sharing of river water, with regard to sharing of financial resources, with regard to entrusting of more power, whatever may be the cause, whatever may be the cause of conflict. These conflicts should be resolved amicably between the center and the state. And the parties which are there at the center and the state, they should not be rivals to one another. Instead, they should amicably resolve, collide with one another, and give an example for the people. Coalition government is a form of government in which political parties cooperate, reduce the dominance of one single party within that coalition. Everybody as an entity come together. The usual reason for this is arrangement, that is, no party on its own can achieve a majority in the election. When no single party gets a majority, they form coalition and they rule. So the language policy has today recognized 22 languages as the statutory languages. Assami, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Oriya, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Bodo, Santali, Maithili, and Dogri are the list of statutory languages. Decentralization of administration, the Panchayat Raj system, the three-tier system, the village level, the block level, the district level. At the village level, we have the Gram Panchayat group of villages formed by the Grama Sabha, all the voters of the village, and the head is the president or the Sarpanch. Panch means the five important people. Then we have the block level, the Panchayat Samiti. Many blocks constitute a zilla or a district. This is elected by the Panchayat members of that area. The block Panchayat president is the BDO or the block development officer. At the district level, we have the Zilla Parishad formed by the elected members and have members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of that particular region, the Zilla chairperson. At the urban level, that is at the rural level, now at the urban level, we have the municipalities in the towns and municipal head is the chairman. At the municipal corporation, big cities, the head is the mayor, like the Hyderabad. The situation in the era of coalition government in 1989, the pattern has shifted to multi-party system. When no single party was getting the majority, then two or more parties came together, and each of those party, everybody's common goal is the nation's development. And so one single party cannot have its own rule imposed on others. So, distribution of power, when the power is distributed from the center to the states, we call as decentralization. So, common understanding, we have the hierarchy, the level of approach from the highest to the lowest. First the union government, then the state government, last is the local government. And each one, the citizen should be focused in governance process. Local government, every citizen is participating. State government and union government, whoever is the government at whatever is the level, their objective should be the welfare of the people. Advantages of decentralization of administration: a vast country like India cannot run through only two levels. What are the needs of the local people? They cannot go to every nook and corner of the country and solve their problems of drinking water, roads, electricity, and all. So, hence, it was needed that a third level of government has to be started, and the major step towards decentralization was taken in the year 1992. Till 1992, elections were not held regularly. After 1992, elections are held periodically for every 5 years and they are elected. And now, general regular elections are being conducted to these local bodies. Seats are reserved for the elected bodies and the executive heads of these institutions, like, for example, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward caste. For them, seats are reserved. Also, one third of the seats are reserved for women. An independent institution called the State Election Commission has been created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. State governments are required to share some power. They have to give power and also give revenue, the money, with local bodies, with the local governments. The nature of the sharing varies from state to state. Based on the area and the population and the amount of revenue collected, the percentage can differ. The local government is popularly known as the Panchayat Raj. Each village or a group of villages in some states has the Gram Panchayat. This is the council consisting of several ward members. They are called as the Panch. Panch means five. And Ayat is existence. They are present to reform, to develop the village. The president of the Panchayat is the Sarpanch. The members of the panchayat are directly elected by all the adults who are living in that panchayat. The local government structure goes right to the district level. Few gram panchayats are grouped together to form what is usually called as panchayat samiti. We just studied about the block level or the mandal level, and the head is the BDO, block development officer. Similarly, local government can be divided on the basis in the urban areas, that is into municipalities and municipal corporations, both for the towns and the cities respectively. Once again, a flow chart: union government, state government, local government, and then it is divided into municipality, municipal corporation, municipal council, nagar panchayat, panchayat, district panchayat, intermediate panchayat, village panchayat. Indian federalism features. We saw it has resolved the linguistic states. Center state relations are resolved. Language policy is resolved. Hindi is not imposed on anybody. Distribution of power to the local level so that they are empowered. They know about their needs. Rural electrification, drinking water, burial grounds, libraries, education, sanitation, everything they know. It promotes and protects the unity. It accommodates such a big diversity, a country with so much of diversity. Different levels of the government resolving the issues of people at different jurisdictions, their limitation of authority. So, advantages of decentralization: we have seen that power is shared between the center and the state and also local governments. This reduces the conflict. All the resources of each level are identified by the people, and they know the needs, they know the problems, they know the issue, and they can settle it better because they have better knowledge of their problems. They know the awareness of money, how much to be spent, and how to manage the efficiency. Local people participate directly in decision making. The impact of local government on Indian democracy. The constitution specifies that the local people, local government have to be empowered, and that deepens democracy. Democracy is going to the grassroots level where every individual is involved in the decision making and also implementation. It has increased women's participation and voice the opinion for democracy. Grama Sabhas are to be held regularly, not just two meetings in a year. Frequent meetings are to be held, then the difficulties will be resolved. Power which is entrusted should be implemented properly. Frequent monitoring has to be done. The state governments do not provide adequate resources, but the state governments should monitor time to time, and the distribution of resources should be done equitably. So, I hope the concept of federalism is clear. I am Devrata Beku, TGT Social Science, trying to simplify the concept of the social science as a subject. Please comment